For 10 years, he was silent, trapped in the twilight world of a deep coma, his mind a locked room to which no one had a key. When he finally woke up, his family wept with joy, preparing to welcome back the man they had lost. But the first words he spoke were not English. They were in a dead language he had never learned, an ancient fluent Latin, and he used them to describe a place that does not exist on any map of this earth. This is the incredible, medically documented story of a man who traveled to another realm and brought back its language. A miracle that continues to baffle linguists, scientists, and theologians, and offers a tantalizing glimpse into the life that awaits us beyond this one. His name was Michael, a construction worker and father of two with a simple high school education. He was a man who loved football and fishing, a man whose knowledge of foreign languages was limited to a few words of Spanish. In his early 30s, a horrific car accident left him with a severe brain injury, and he slipped into what doctors called a persistent vegetative state. For a decade, he was a body in a bed, kept alive by machines and the stubborn, unwavering love of his family. They spoke to him, read to him, and prayed over him, holding on to a sliver of hope that science told them was irrational. The stakes were a long, slow goodbye, a decade of grieving for a man who was still breathing. Then, one ordinary Tuesday morning, a nurse was performing her routine checks when she saw his eyelids flicker. She called his name, and his eyes opened. And they were not vacant. They were aware. He was back. The news spread like wildfire through the hospital. His family rushed to his bedside, their hearts overflowing with a joy so intense it was painful. After 10 years of silence, their husband, their father, was awake. They gathered around him, tears streaming down their faces, waiting for his first word. He looked at his wife, his eyes full of a strange ancient wisdom, and he began to speak. The sound that came from his mouth was shocking. It was a stream of beautiful, complex, and perfectly articulated classical Latin. He had never studied Latin a day in his life. He couldn't have pointed to Italy on a map. Yet he was speaking the language of Cicero and Virgil as if he had been born in ancient Rome. The feeling in that hospital room shifted from joyous relief to profound, unsettling awe. The air itself felt thin, as if the boundary between this world and another had been momentarily breached. Where had this knowledge come from? How could a man's brain, which had been dormant for 10 years, suddenly access a complex, dead language? The doctors were speechless. They brought in linguists, experts from the local university, to verify what they were hearing. The experts confirmed it. It was not just gibberish that sounded like Latin. It was grammatically perfect, with a rich and varied vocabulary. He was not just speaking words, he was communicating complex ideas. Over the next few days, with the help of the translators, Michael began to tell his story. He explained that for 10 years, he had not been in a dark, silent prison. He had been in a place of indescribable light and peace. He described it as a school of souls, a luminous realm where he had spent the decade in conversation with what he called beings of pure light. He said they had communicated with him not in English, but in a universal language of thought and feeling that his brain, upon waking, had translated into the closest earthly equivalent it could find. Latin, the foundational language of Western civilization and theology. He spoke of learning the history of the cosmos, the interconnectedness of all living things, and the divine laws of love and forgiveness that govern the universe. He said the beings of light were our guides, our teachers, and that his 10-year coma was not a medical condition, but a period of intense spiritual education. He had not been asleep. He had been in class. This is a story that shatters our understanding of consciousness, language, and the nature of reality itself. It is a phenomenon known as xenoglossy, the ability to speak a language one has never learned. While rare, there are other documented cases, but none as dramatic and sustained as this. Science has no explanation. The brain cannot spontaneously generate a fully formed language. This knowledge had to come from somewhere outside of his own mind. This miracle forces us to consider a reality beyond the purely physical. It is a powerful piece of evidence that consciousness is not simply a byproduct of the brain's chemical processes. It suggests that our consciousness, Our soul is an independent entity that can exist, learn, and grow even when the physical brain is offline. Michael's brain was in a coma, but his soul was at university. The choice of Latin is also profoundly significant. It is the language of the Church, of ancient scholarship, and of science. It is a language that bridges worlds. The translation of his experience into Latin suggests that the spiritual knowledge he gained is foundational, an ancient truth that underlies all of our modern quests for understanding. His story is a message, a divine communication for all of humanity. It is a message of hope, a confirmation that life does not end with the failure of the body. It tells us that there is a continuity of existence, a journey of the soul that continues beyond the veil of what we call death. It suggests that our time on Earth is just one grade in a much larger cosmic school, and that our true education is a spiritual one. For 10 years, his family prayed for a miracle. They thought the miracle would be for him to simply wake up and be the man he was before. But God's plan was infinitely more mysterious and profound. He did not just give them back their husband and father. He sent them back a messenger, an ambassador from another realm, with a story that has the power to change our understanding of what it means to be human. He was a man who went to the edge of eternity and came back speaking its native tongue. If the mystery of what lies beyond our earthly existence fascinates you, consider following for more incredible stories and divine messages that expand our vision of reality.